Good evening, everybody. Welcome back for another edition of Reasonable Doubt, brought to you by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. I'm your host, Jimmy Ardwan. With me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Julio Vela. And Julio, joining us from the booth, the man.
Bottom of the barrel.
Justin Harris.
Bottom of the barrel.
Top of the barrel.
Even brought the bow tie for us.
Top of the barrel.
We pulled Justin out of the booth tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be with us for the next hour. The three of us are just going to, I don't know. Spitball, wax prophetically, whatever we want to call it for the next hour. We'll probably open up the phone lines if you want to get on the conversation. 713-807-1794 is the number. And as always, you can hit us up on Twitter at HCCLA_TV for your questions and comments. So, guys, how's your week been?
You know, it's been good.
Yeah?
I mean, you know, we'll talk about Harris County. So it kind of feels, you know.
Really how your week's been. I was trying to
Well, with the week. So
some pleasantries here since it's just us and we don't really have guests. I'm trying to.
So you know, I mean, as a
personal touch to the show.
You know, you get your spike of trials, and you know, it's kind of like your own little trial season. And the summer's my trial season. I got like 12 of them things set through August.
Here you are. You just want to dive into stuff in here.
I mean,
make it a little personal.
We opened it up so Monday I had 2 set, and they both got moved. And man, it just feels good to have a breather.
Did you go breathe in some of that nice air at the CJC this week?
Well, yeah, it's been coming in, flowing real nice at the CJC. I heard a story today that this guy ended up getting this like asbestos poisoning down there.
What? No, yeah. I don't think it could happen that quickly.
No. It's an older guy who from back in the day who was down there at the courthouse for the last 30 years.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. How's your week been, Justin?
Well, I hope I don't have asbestosis or mesothelioma.
Well, I hope you don't either.
Fostering.
I mean, I hope none.
I'm still reeling from there actually has been a case of mesothelioma or asbestosis from the CJC or one of the other buildings.
More than likely the Family Law Center.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the judges today, and who's on the 4th floor of the Family Law Center, and she's a former DA, and I was saying, I didn't know that this building was connected to the old district attorney's office. Was this ever a criminal courthouse? And she had no idea that it was, but she then started shifting over to that building and how it had asbestos in it in the old DA building, which we all knew about. And then she told me that when they moved into the Family Law Center, they were told not to do anything with the walls, not to hang any pictures or anything like that, which is clearly because there's fears of asbestos in the walls. And asbestos is generally, I worked for an asbestos defense firm for 4 years before law school, and generally, if you just leave it alone, it's not going to do anything to you. If it's just in your walls, it's when you get in there and start stirring it up, and the dust blows around. You breathe that in, it gets all over stuff. That's where it's a problem.
Clings to your lungs. So other than that fun,
I had a good week.
How did you guys' summers going? You see any good movies? Do anything? Concerts? Anything fun?
Oh, hang on, may I? Yeah. So we saw my fiance and I saw the new Jurassic World.
Whoa! Time out. Wait.
Yeah, you heard that? You heard that? Like how he just dropped that in there? Yeah.
Wait, what? Fiance?
Yeah, I got engaged a few months back.
But that's kind of big. You should have led with that.
Well, you didn't ask me how my January was.
Well, I didn't know. You've kept this secret from us.
Well, I'm not hiding it. I'm very excited. I'm
good.
Very surprised she said yes, but very happy.
I mean,
most people are.
I think most people are, yeah.
What, surprised that she said yes?
Yes.
Oh, so I thought saying that you're happy.
So you took her to see Jurassic Park?
Yeah, so we went and saw the new Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And before we went, I had seen a headline of a reviewer from like the Thursday before it came out or something, and he said, I'm going to botch it, but he said like, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is better than the first Jurassic World, but somehow still not very good. And after seeing it, I have to agree. Like, I really like Jurassic World. I'll watch it when it's on TV or HBO or anything, or
you've got the look tonight that if this whole law practice thing doesn't work out, you can go into movie reviewing.
Yeah, I probably could.
You could be the next
sideshow.
Siskel or Ebert.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you even know who those guys are?
I do.
Good.
One of them,
there's only one of them now,
alive,
right?
Yeah. One of them died.
You know, I recently watched.
I think they actually are both.
I think both. I think Roger Ebert died more recently too.
Yeah.
Siskel died earlier.
I recently watched 2 things on Netflix. One of them was the complete doco on The Staircase, which I found phenomenal. Have you seen that?
It's been recommended.
Have you seen it?
No. But I have been watching a lot of Netflix lately.
It's
Tell me
great.
about this one.
So
I need new stuff to watch.
So this guy, this guy in one of the Carolinas, his wife ends up dead at the bottom of a staircase, and he calls 911.
Yes, so I've seen the preview.
It's great.
Is it good?
It's great.
Okay, so don't ruin it for me.
Well, and so he calls 911, says my wife fell down.
I put that on the list of things.
You got to watch it. This
Okay.
defense lawyer puts on a clinic. It is a clinic of what you are supposed to do to defend a case.
Not like a Better Call Saul clinic.
No, not like a Better Call Saul clinic. It is. We're talking experts, investigators, theories. The trial itself lasted like 5 months or something, and at the end, you're just gutted with the result. And you know, if you've seen The Staircase, call in. It has everything from science to reenactments to, and then eventually, you know, there's the inevitable one of the individual experts for the state ends up being just some quack.
Yeah.
And it was the linchpin of the case, and turns out that he's lied and put a bunch of innocent people in prison and all kinds of things. And it's great because it starts from the first day of court all the way through the verdict, like all the way through the prep, the verdict, all the way through the appeals, and then all the way eventually his final relief.
Well, I'm gonna have to check this out. I can tell you what not to watch. Don't watch The Ranch.
Oh.
I haven't.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode and didn't even make it all the way through, and I thought, it's got Sam Elliott. How can this go bad? I mean, Sam Elliott.
I fell for that too.
He's the bomb, right? I mean, it's Sam Elliott. It's called The Ranch. It's got a great little, and you get in, and it is Sam Elliott, Deborah Winger, Ashton Kutcher, and the other dude from that '70s show that wasn't as popular, and it's completely terrible. Like, don't waste your time with it.
What's the premise?
The premise is Ashton Kutcher is basically a high-end Uncle Rico who's still trying to cling on to his football dream and comes home to the ranch. It's terrible. Don't even bother. I didn't even make it through the whole first episode.
The first episode of the first season.
First episode of the first. Okay, I didn't even make it through the whole first episode. I was like, this is terrible.
I'm ashamed to admit I've watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons.
What? You made it that
just
far?
Came out into the 4th season. It's just one of those background noise shows that I put on at the house.
Oh my God, man! I mean,
but it is not very good.
It's terrible.
What really turned me off is
I would rather watch reruns of Perfect Strangers from the late '80s than watch.
Well, that's what it reminds me of, because it's got this really awful canned laughter.
Yes, it's got the laugh track.
That jars me. Like I'm not.
Awful.
It has a laugh track.
Yeah, like
it's terrible.
Yeah, like studio audience laugh.
Yeah, but
Wow.
it's like the low budget one. It's like one person's voice just like stereoed multiple times and layered. It's not like they really paid for.
But I will say, if you haven't watched it
audience.
yet, the thing that I have been watching that's good, if you can cut through all the crap, is The Untold History of the United States by Oliver Stone.
Stone, yeah.
If you can get past all of Oliver Stone's political crap,
Right.
it's pretty good on the facts.
It's on Netflix?
It's pretty good on the facts. It'll make you think a lot, especially with what's going on right now, with what's going on at the border and with the Supreme Court and Trump and all this. This will make you really think about it. Just the way he lays out the facts. I was telling somebody the other day, like, look, don't get caught up in Oliver Stone's personal anecdotes and his typical political BS. But but if you just stick to the facts, he does a very good job from a historical standpoint of laying out the facts and making some pretty good arguments about how things have happened and
History repeats itself, kind of deal.
Kind of thing. Well, I mean, what you don't realize is, and look, I mean, we're obviously a current event show and a legal show, and we're talking about, we're seeing all this stuff going on out at the border, families being separated, people not being, children having to go into immigration court by themselves, mothers, they're trying to force pleas on people to try and get them back. I mean, but what you don't realize is this is not something new. What a lot of people don't realize is this is not something new. This has been something that's been going on for 100 years by our policies in Central and South America, where we've just been, affecting regime change
Right.
one after another.
Toppling
What happened to the good old
right,
days where we just went
right.
in and installed a dictator?
Right.
And that's what we were worried about,
Right.
when we were invading Grenada and Panama and all that and
It's all
Nicaragua.
above board and on the news.
Right. Yeah. I mean, don't you just long for those days?
We're freeing them, aren't we?
Well, I mean, are
Spreading
we?
democracy.
Right.
Are
we're
we?
freeing
We're
them.
spreading democracy.
Right.
We put Noriega in power, and
Yeah.
he's good for a while.
Yeah.
We help him run drugs, and then all of a sudden we don't like what he's doing, so we indict him for running drugs.
We give him a bedroom.
Yeah, we give him a hotel at the.
Speaking of
At the
Noriega, American Made with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Great movie.
Really?
Yeah, it talks about him and.
Wait. It's in movie theaters, right?
No. It's on
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It might be
'Cause I was
Netflix
like,
or.
There's no way you go to a movie theater with like 3 small kids and a pregnant wife and.
No.
No, this guy's not going anywhere. Come on, give me a
I
break.
have no. Although I did take the group to go
Enjoy
see
it while you
Infinity
can,
Wars.
Justin, because there's.
Yeah.
Enjoy going to the movies while
Yeah.
you can, because
Um,
once you have kids, your nights out will only consist of like putt golf, and your trips will be theme park laden. So
I hear like music change, like your music, what you listen to changes from.
yeah, pretty much.
My kids
Things that
love.
have like a mature label on them to like things that have kids in the title of the band.
Pretty much. That's-
I
I'm
knew
looking forward to that.
I knew I had to change my music when my eldest started singing "Give It Away" by Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's like, what I gotta give it to your mama. What I gotta give it to your papa. And I was like, we're gonna have to change that music. I didn't know you were. Yeah.
So you can do it when they're a certain age and they get old enough to like retain
Yeah.
things and understand.
Yeah.
You gotta stop. Okay.
The other one on Netflix though is Evil Genius. Not as good as The Staircase. Viewers, if you've seen The Staircase, want to talk about it, let's talk about it. And if you haven't seen that one, the other one's Evil Genius. It's about that guy. I don't know if you remember. I remember this on the news. He walks into a bank and he has a bomb strapped to his neck, and says, "Hey, somebody put a bomb around my neck, and I need to rob. I need money." So he robs this bank. Doesn't get very far before cops stop him, pull him out of the car, and he's out in front of the car, and he's like, "For real, I'm just a pizza delivery guy. Some people strapped this bomb to my neck and told me I had to go rob this bank. You guys should probably do something about it." And everybody's like, "Don't touch him, leave him alone." And so he's sitting there and he's screaming, "Hey, this bomb's about to blow up. It's like ticking. It's ticking," and nobody does anything. And then finally the bomb blows up and blows him up.
This is real?
Yeah.
Our booth wants to know, have you seen The Good Fight?
No, The Good Fight? What's that? It's on Netflix.
We're going to have to find that out for the show. We're going to need to get some recommendations. Clearly, especially you and I. We'll just let Justin keep watching The Ranch.
The Good Wife.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
The Good Wife. Interesting.
My mom liked The Good Wife.
Matt Damon on The Good Wife? Was it Matt Damon? Who was on The Good Wife?
No, I don't think so.
It was
Tom
Juliana
Selleck.
Margulies and Chris Nah.
Oh, yeah.
Baranski.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I guess at some point we should move on to talking about legal issues.
Hang on.
In our,
So
in our movie reviews, but you
The
got one more.
Staircase, is it like a documentary?
It's a
that's filmed
doco.
While it's going on?
Yes.
It's not like a
No,
redramatization?
documentary. So is Evil Genius.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah. There's this other side theory about how. So the big theory, without giving it away, on the Staircase is that there's no. The husband gets charged with murder, and the biggest thing is, okay, these lacerations and this amount of blood could not have been caused by somebody falling down the staircase. Okay.
Okay.
He gets tried for murder on that. However, there's an alternative theory that's not presented, but that would have been presented in the new trial, because I'm giving some away. Eventually, he gets a new trial. An owl. A rabid, savage owl. Apparently, there's this
Is he
owl.
giving it away?
This is side theory. It's not even on the
wait
show.
now.
Okay. All right.
There's this owl that has been terrorizing the neighborhood, and they've brought in experts and such to show that this owl talons could have caused these severe lacerations that eventually killed this woman in her house. And the wife who ends up dead, obviously, has owl feathers in her hand. Owl feathers in her hand. An owl did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now
With
that begs
defense,
the question of
I'm
whether or
amazed
not
there was
you
a
could-
conviction.
Yeah, that begs the question of whether you could wrestle an owl with your bare hands.
Well,
Not successfully, according
Yeah,
to
I
apparently
mean-
the evidence would show.
Yeah.
hey, have they excluded all other rational hypothesi?
Did you exclude the possibility that an owl might have attacked her?
Is there room for reasonable doubt?
Well, was the owl rabid?
Apparently,
That's key.
the neighbor had
got in
been
a
saying
fight
there's
with
this
a
owl.
possum.
Yeah, right.
And didn't go
Hey,
to the vet.
maybe that owl swooped down and picked up a rabid animal. I don't know.
And tore her head up, and then.
The feathers in the hand.
How is someone going to die with feathers in the hand? The theory is that the owl came in, started attacking her, and she went in, and then eventually
just fell
and
downstairs.
this one just passed and just dead.
Then just kept her fist
Yeah,
clenched
with
the entire time. Like,
owl feathers in the hand.
And the owl got in the house and back out of the house.
Well, they're saying that the owl attacked her outside,
Oh.
and then
breaking and entering by owl.
and then cut her up, and then she kind of stumbled inside and eventually fell down by the stairs, with owl feathers in her
How
hand.
long ago was this?
2001.
Okay. So it's not like real fresh and we're being callous, making fun of the death. Okay.
12 Angry Men
Still-
is a phenomenal movie.
Still tragic.
Y'all seen 12 Angry Men?
Yes.
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
phenomenal.
Great.
The other one is.
My cousin Vinny is also awesome too. If we want to get on legal movies,
We do a legal movie show.
My cousin Vinny, when clients are like, "Oh, I don't know about jury trial," like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That's just out here. It's a terrible thing to do." I'm like, "Go watch My Cousin Vinny and then let's talk." That's my. I've given more clients that as homework.
tell them to do.
Yeah, it worked because they have no concept of what they're talking about. Well, actually, what I use that for is when we have a judge that's not particularly friendly, and I say, "You don't want to go to a judge trial. You want a jury trial. Go watch My Cousin Vinny."
Yeah.
And
Another great one is And Justice for All with Al Pacino. I'm out of order. You're out of order.
no, that's
This whole court's out of order. It's In Justice for All.
Sin of a Woman, right?
No, Sin of a Woman is a great movie too. That the closing arguments in Sin of a Woman is I've taken things from there and used them in closings.
I haven't seen. What is it?
It's and Justice for All. So it's a defense attorney who's representing a judge who's accused of rape. And then at the closing, he says, "My client's not going in today. You know why? Because he's guilty. He did it." And everybody's like screaming, like, "Whoa! What's going? Order, order!" And he's like, "I'm out of order. You're out of order. This whole courtroom's out of order. And he's guilty. He's guilty." It's great. It's a great movie.
Pacino's the person saying.
Pacino's the defense attorney. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see it so I can understand that.
His mind gets so wrapped up and warped in this. He's about to walk a judge because he's that good. And this judge is going to retain his bench because he's about to walk him. But Al Pacino, this is my take on the movie, says, "Justice. I have to do something because I'm about to walk this guy out, and I'm going to violate my oath. And I'm going to stop this judge from getting back on this bench to stop ruining more lives, because he's going to ruin a lot more lives. And I'll just put my life on my bar card on the line to do it." Now, granted, I've never
That's fiction.
been in that. Right, it's all fiction, right?
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
That's not a documentary.
No.
No, that's fiction.
Okay.
No. All right, let's talk about real cases.
How far did we make it without talking about real life?
20 minutes, man.
Oh, nice.
We've talked about real life. We talked about our real lives.
That's true.
What are you talking
My
about?
engagement. That's true. That's very real.
Yeah, that is very real. Believe me, it's going to get a lot more real, son.
Yeah, I know.
Before it's all said and done.
By the way, you can let people know that if they wanted to start calling in.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Anybody wants
If you want to criticize our movie reviews, call in.
We could do a little legal movie show. I think the closings and The Time to Kill, phenomenal.
Yeah, let's talk about other things that got critical this week, and that was the
But
murder.
you can't do what McConaughey did in Time to Kill.
Oh, okay. You're
right?
going to go back to that.
Yeah. You can't. This is what's always bugged me.
the problem with bringing the
It's a
producer on the
powerful
show.
closing argument, but you can't ask
You can't do anything.
You can't ask the jury to put themselves in the position of the defendant. You know, when he says
can't do
close your
anything.
eyes.
Well, I think he said now
that she's
imagine that she's white. He does ask them to put themselves in the shoe of the defendant, doesn't he?
A little bit. I think she's like, what would you have done? Anyway,
You can't
sorry.
do it.
Okay, bring us back on the rails.
Trying to keep you on the rails, but you keep wanting to go off. So this week we got a verdict, or late last week, I guess.
No,
yeah.
a non-verdict.
Yeah, non-verdict, a mistrial in Terry Thompson's murder case that we had talked about on the last show. So, of course, the prosecution went all the way, charged it with murder, but then they got to jury instructions into closing arguments and asked for not one, but two lesser includeds of manslaughter.
Who asked for the lesser?
My
State.
my understanding, the state.
Yeah.
There's no way.
No way the
Right.
defense would have.
That would be a bad call.
That would be a horrible call. So the state asked for two lesser includeds, one of manslaughter and the other of criminally negligent homicide. We find out that the split was 11-1 for not guilty on murder, 10-2 not guilty on manslaughter, and 8-4 not guilty on criminally negligent homicide. And yet, our district attorney's office is going to retry the case. They lost across the board on everything, and they're going to retry this case.
You think it's political?
Well, yes. I mean, clearly, even just the charge itself, I believe, was politically motivated, or at least motivated by the protesters. Not sure whether you can really throw pure politics into it, but certainly community outrage, I think, it played into it, but by far. But I think had they charged it as just a criminally negligent homicide, I think it would have been different. I think you may have had a chance to actually get a conviction had you just charged it as criminally negligent homicide. And so, I mean... So,
hang on, before we move on from that, so
yeah.
you think if the jury had gone back there and not had to start deliberating on things that they all kind of agreed the state was overreaching, 11-1, if they had just started off deliberating on this lower level offense, that they would have gotten there fully there quicker?
Well, because I think that when the state goes in and the state is the one asking for the lesser includeds, I mean, I think they're conceding reasonable doubt right off the bat.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought of it that way.
Can you argue that as a defense attorney?
I don't see why you wouldn't.
Charging conference isn't...
Because the state's closing argument was, if you don't believe it's murder...
Oh, yeah.
then it could be manslaughter. If you don't believe it's manslaughter, then it could be this.
Well, and what you mean...
By very definition, that's reasonable doubt.
It's because they don't even know. I mean, they don't even know. That's great.
Right. They couldn't even figure out how to charge it.
That's great. For the viewers, this is the Denny's
This is
case.
Denny's
It's the Denny's choking case.
But I mean, look. So, and I was having this debate with a prosecutor at the office the other night, and they said that they believed it was murder, that choking would fall under, and I'm going to read it here so that everybody knows, it would be under 19.02 of the Penal Code, Section B, 2, where someone intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of an individual. I said, no, choking is not clearly dangerous to human life to cause death to an individual.
We usually see that particular charge in somebody shooting off a gun.
Right.
Things like that.
Because just because you choke somebody, not all chokings are the same. And yes, I'm going to say it again, if that person's watching, not all chokings are the same. Because if you and I are horsing around and I've got you in a headlock, right, and we're just messing around and all of a sudden, things get crazy, yeah, you might get choked out. There's no way that doing a headlock, because we've all put people in headlocks since we were 6 years old, that's clearly dangerous to human life.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, on the other hand, if you piss me off and I grab you, facing you, and push my thumbs right into your trachea, well, that's a different choking.
Right.
Those two kinds of choking are not the same.
Right.
So I don't think you can say, and this was a situation where he was on top of him in a kind of a submission hold. I mean, if that's murder, then every MMA fight could potentially be murder.
Right.
If somebody gets choked out.
Well, okay. I don't agree with that last statement. It's a little slippery slope because...
What about an MMA fighter?
Yeah, because it's consent to assault is always a defense to any of those kinds of...
It's not a defense to murder.
Yeah, it is.
You can consent to be murdered.
Boxers who get into rings and it result in death, or NFL players who have a.
That's what I'm saying. But it's the same act.
But I understand. But my point is that there are.
And that's what I'm saying. You're getting to a slippery slope where if you're going to say that holding somebody in a submission.
No. Okay, so that's the key there. That's not what you're saying. Holding someone restraint versus choking is different. And I think that if someone is choking, and I'm looking at my phone because I was looking at just the Google definition of choking, of a person or animal have severe difficulty in breathing because of constricted or obstructed throat or lack of air. When you're restraining someone, you're not doing that. I mean, in the course of restraining someone, you could start to choke them.
Right.
But that's why I think...
I see what you're saying. So the act of him actually choking might have been something that's really dangerous to human life?
I'm not saying that... What was Thompson's first name?
Terry.
I'm not saying Terry Thompson choked him. It's hard to tell from the video that I've seen. It looks like a restraint. Now, this restraint may have crossed into choking, and that's where I feel like if you inject yourself into a situation like that, as a non-law enforcement officer, or even as an off-duty law enforcement officer who's not uniformed, you then are responsible for your actions. And if you start out doing something that's intended as a restraint, and when you're laying on top of another grown man and it turns into choking, and you may not know when that change happens.
And so, see, that's the other point, is he was laying on top of him. He's a big dude, all right? And there was testimony at trial that said that the death was from the pressure being put down on him, not the choking.
You got a manner and means problem.
Exactly.
And they have problems with their, and I don't disagree that the district attorney's offices in general or in Harris County, particularly, have problems with their charging instruments often.
So that's why I think criminally negligent homicide would have been a more appropriate charge to start off with.
Have they said what they're going to retry him on?
No. No.
They already had the indictment on murder. They don't have to seek a new indictment for a lesser, right?
Well, yeah, they would.
They'd have to establish probable cause for the separate offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they want to do it as a pure offense, because it's not, they've charged it as murder.
They have to plead it differently, that's right.
Yeah, they'd have to plead it differently.
The defense attorney brought up a great thing that really changed my perspective in opening, where he said, look, if he wanted to choke him out and kill him, he could have done it in 2 minutes. He could have done it in a minute, 2 minutes, however long it takes to just chokes and dead. Mm-hmm. However, I believe it took this restraint or interaction. This interaction between these two individuals lasted something like 15 minutes. And the second that they realized, oh, he's going limp, they stopped and tried to provide assistance to him.
Undo what they did.
Right. Now, do I think the fact that this guy, that someone who urinates in a Denny's parking lot deserves to die? Absolutely not. Not a chance, not in a million years. But I found that to be compelling that, hey, look, if this guy wanted to choke somebody out and kill him, he could have done it very quickly. Now, for an intentional and knowingly murder, he could have done it.
What judges tell every jury and love to remind defense attorneys more so than prosecutors, which is that things that the attorneys say are not evidence. So,
right.
What he's really saying is he probably could have, but I don't know how long it takes to kill someone. Presumably Terry Thompson has never choked someone to the point of death.
Well,
he doesn't know how long he takes to kill someone through strangulation or choking. So, let's just call that what it is. That's speculation.
It is, and it's his actions are circumstantial evidence that indicate, or that would go to, one could surmise what the intent was, and that's the biggest issue with intent crimes. That how do you actually prove what someone's thinking?
But see, I think that's why criminally negligent homicide would have been a better fit. Okay. Because, it draws a very close line here. At what point should maybe he have realized, okay, I think I need to get off this guy?
Right.
You know?
I think maybe before he got on him. I'm kind of putting aside the legal stuff, and I know we're lawyers and we talk about legal things, but I don't think that necessarily the prosecution is politically motivated. I think if they didn't at least seek an indictment, that would be politically motivated. That would be only because he's married to a sheriff's deputy.
And how the hell do they try her? I mean, come on.
Yeah, what are they going to try her with?
I think that's just them kind of lining up everything so that they don't open themselves up. Maybe it's them trying to not open themselves up to an argument in one trial that, hey, if my guy's guilty, then she should be charged as well. I don't know. I don't understand half the charging decisions that are made in the Harris County District Attorney's Office these days, so I'm not going to pretend to know that one. But I do feel like if whatever the decedent was doing, what was his name? John
Hernandez.
Whatever he was doing beforehand that precipitated this whole altercation, I don't think justifies what Thompson did. Unless it was Hernandez assaulting him. But even if it's him trying to leave a place intoxicated, even with his children, that's when there are things you can do without putting someone in a restraint, a headlock, a chokehold, strangulation, whatever you want to call it, getting on top of them. And I know it didn't just start with him grabbing him, getting on the ground, and jumping on top of him. It was a tussle that we saw towards the end of.
Yeah.
But
Which begs the question: would negligent homicide maybe not murder, but I don't think
Before we get back into the
homeboy
charging
needs
and
to
the
be
legal
excused of his actions either.
Before we get back into the charging and legal dispute, I do feel like, and this is rampant speculation, okay? If what I was accusing you of earlier, or the defense attorney of arguing was speculation, this is even more so. I'll admit that. But I do feel like Terry Thompson was probably emboldened to some degree by the fact that he's married to law enforcement.
Sure.
And he can jump in here and do whatever he thinks is the right thing to do in that moment. And he's either emboldened. I don't think I'm not saying that he's sitting there going, I'm going to get away with something because my wife is sheriff's deputy. I think he just kind of has that attitude like a lot of folks do. And I'm guilty of this when I get into a position where I feel like I have some authority over a certain...
I'm a lawyer.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I just walk differently sometimes, even if I don't treat someone differently. I just, there's a different confidence that you feel when you feel like you have some authority. And whether it's arbitrary or not. And that's where I feel like some of these things are coming in, and officers, and in this case, an officer's spouse, interactions with the public, and just being heavy-handed.
I'm not saying they would have gotten a conviction by any means. I just think, I think their problem was, I mean, you look at the split, it wasn't even close. It wasn't like even when you got down to criminally negligent homicide, it was 6-6. I think their problem was they shot too high.
Right.
And you interject reasonable doubt in there. I mean, majority of the people are still like, yeah, I just don't see it. And I just think from a prosecution standpoint, and this is just looking purely at a trial tactical standpoint of what you charge. I mean, why would you not look at that and say, I'm not sure we can really prove murder here? Because think about how many times have you really seen a high-profile murder case where they've asked for lesser included and it's worked out well for them, that they've gotten something. Right. I mean, usually this is what happens, because the reason they ask for lesser included is because they think their murder case is weak or generally has some problems. So why would you start off with that? Just, you should be able to, at this point, everybody has seen enough of these things and seen how juries react to say, look, maybe we should go for what we think is the most provable offense. Right. Not let's see if we can get the one with the most penalty. Let's see if we can go with the most provable offense.
I agree with that.
And if we can't get it, we can't get it. But what can we actually prove here? And I think the defense maybe would have had a tougher time arguing just criminal negligent homicide. That doesn't mean to say they couldn't still win, because you would argue, I think the argument there is still lack of intent. This was an accident. He was just trying to restrain him. And this is a situation of restraint that just went wrong.
It's not an accident. An accident is like, the road's wet and you think you are estimating your distance and your speed the right way, and you just don't, or you don't see that car in your blind spot. That's an accident or a mistake. But when you put your arm around someone, you get on top of them and you're holding them down and you're in a physical altercation with them, you're responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for anything that reasonably could happen from
okay, but let's go back to my first
I'm not saying that makes you a murderer.
But let's go back to my first example where I've got Julio in the headlock.
Well, you'd never have him in headlock just to start with.
Yeah. Let's see this. Go.
But if I did, and just, it ends up, there he is, dead lying in mid-court in the gym.
But you, in your situation, when you were describing that hypothetical, you said, I got you in a headlock, we're horsing around, and then things just get a little bit, and then you start getting choked.
Right.
So that's that little things get a little, that's where it goes from no crime to crime. And that's where if you are doing something that you maybe shouldn't be doing that's no crime, and then it shifts into that blurred area and then into the crime area, that's why you shouldn't be doing this.
A lot of times I see.
But see, that's the argument is that he would, if at some point he feels like he's justified in defending a third person or himself, but maybe that threat dissipates. But that's what I'm saying is, at what point does it end? It becomes a much closer call, I think, if they had just charged this as criminally negligent homicide.
Well, and they don't lose any credibility.
You would put the defense in the position of having to argue that this is an accident. We didn't intend for this result to happen. That this is purely an accident. Okay.
I agree with that.
Where murder, I mean, that's a much easier argument for the defense, I think, in this case, to defend. And come up with an argument on that side.
It's almost akin to, when you hear when somebody says, or he's charged with murder. Well, he was defending himself. Yeah, and then the prosecutor comes back and says, yeah, but it was overkill, or it was you hit him one time too many, and it's that blur that is the issue. Did he restrain him one part too many? Was he on it too much? At one point, should he have stopped?
Should he have restrained him at all?
Well, I mean, I think right. I don't think you should ever put your hands on anyone. But then again, the guy had a gun in his car, and was like talking about going and getting it and stuff. I don't know if he knew that though.
He still hasn't broken a law unless he terroristic threats the guy, and tells him he's going to go get the gun and come back and shoot him. That's a little different. But if he's just talking about a gun and saying he's got it, that doesn't mean that you can then jump on somebody and put him in a chokehold.
I mean,
put him in a chokehold and jump on him, whatever the order was.
This is always going to become a difficult situation anytime you have, a dead body, and you have a fight. And it's not clear. It's not like somebody just walking up to somebody and pulling the trigger. These cases are very, very ugly because you've got a dead body, and I don't think anybody in the whole situation intended for there to be a death.
No, of course not.
The guy whatever John Hernandez did, obviously, he didn't intend to start something that would result in his death. Or the death of anybody else, I don't think. I mean, there's not any evidence that he threatened anybody, that he was going to go kill him or anything like that. Or maybe, was there? I can't remember.
Somehow it came out that I'm going to get my gun or something. Okay. There's a gun out there.
Maybe there was, and I'll have to go back and look at the news. But I don't think anybody, these are situations where I don't think anybody really, truly intends to go out there and cause a death. That's where I think is the difference between what should have been charged and what everybody traditionally thinks a murder is. Okay.
So this is getting back to your question from a second ago. How do you get to figure out what someone's intent actually was? And I think Jimmy's starting to get at that. Is that, if you don't know, then you charge the offense. If they still did something, if the actus reus is there, but the mens reus may not be,
right.
You charge them with something where the mens rea either doesn't matter or is, I guess, lower, diminished from the other offense.
They probably could have copped it. I mean, you come and say to the client and say, hey, look, they're charging you with murder versus, look, they're charging you with criminal negligent homicide. That's a very different conversation you're having with your client about how to proceed and how the facts may look. And I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I agree with you 100% that. And I will add that I think the state lost credibility he was a great lawyer. Apparently, he worked for the state, then was a federal public defender, and then came back. And I don't know. He's a great. I hear
prosecutor.
The prosecutor. Okay. I hear nothing but great things about him. And I felt that his arguments in the beginning were compelling. However, if the state can't even figure out what he's charged with, I mean, how are you all?
Right. State can't even figure out what charges. Well, I guess we'll shelf this topic until the retrial. See what happens there. I just can't.
Let me ask you this: retrial. I feel like the answer to this is yes, and actually no. Mark Bennett and all my other mentors who are watching, I know the answer to this, but I just want to see if Jimmy and JV do. But if they charged him with murder and they arraigned him on murder and they proceeded all the way through the trial and towards middle or end or where in the beginning, they realize this is not going to be a murder. Like a jury charge for murder isn't even going to work for us. Isn't there a provision that lets them, they don't have to amend the indictment or anything, but just go on a lesser and not a higher level, the primary offense that was charged, or the only offense that was charged?
Well, isn't that a fatal defect? No, I don't know if it's a fatal. Look, I'm gonna get reamed. I know this later, but I know.
No, we know the answer, mentors and colleagues. We just are fleshing it out for the audience.
Oh, I know. When somebody proceeds when the state proceeds on an indictment for crime X, but then end up proving crime Y, that's a fatal defect there, and that's a big problem.
Well, that's not guilty if Y is not part of X, right?
Well,
if they prove an aggravated robbery, if they prove a theft, but they've charged aggravated robbery, if no one asks for a lesser included, the jury can't come back and convict of theft.
Right.
But if somebody asks for lesser included and the jury believes the evidence proved beyond a doubt, reasonable doubt that was theft and there was no assault with the theft, because for the viewers, robbery is assault plus theft, then they can convict of that. But my question is, in the middle of your robbery trial, can you not abandon, but can you go, you know what, Judge, we're just asking for an instruction on theft?
No, I don't think so at all. Okay. I'm going to stand up and say no.
I think you're right on that.
No, I mean you go in there and
that is the right answer.
You're going to look, the state's going to have to go up to say, look, he's charged with murder, but we've asked for this lesser.
So do you think this is that maybe the Thompson case is a situation where the state didn't really know as many of the facts as they should have? They got into the trial and they regretted proceeding on murder?
I mean, look, I think the indictment was quick, but
and wrong, right? Didn't he kill himself in the original indictment?
Yeah.
Yes, I think I caught that.
You brought that on the show.
Yeah. I caught that. I was like, hey, he killed himself.
But I don't think. I mean, the indictment was quick, but I don't think that they necessarily bungled the investigation or
I'm not saying
didn't have
that.
all the facts. I mean,
the investigation is done primarily by the law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a situation, I don't think, where the DA's office didn't have all the facts available to them before proceeding to trial. I think they clearly had everything. They just chose to go forward with it. I mean, look, they could have easily dismissed that and refiled it as something else.
But I'm not talking about murder trials.
I mean, how many times?
Only involvement I've had with murder trials is like sitting on the back bench. But y'all have seen, hopefully y'all are like me, where you go to trial on cases, you know the facts way better and more facts than the DA's aware of.
We would hope.
Most of the time, yeah. Or you hope. You always hope. But a lot of times I do. I've got evidence the state is not even aware of, and we go in there and, that's why we get a lot of, not uncommon to get mid-trial dismissals.
Yeah.
We start playing up some stuff, and they're like, wait, we didn't know this. Why didn't you bring it to us? But you don't think that is anything that played out in Thompson's case?
I don't think so.
You think...
Because the defense didn't put any witnesses, did they?
No. They, at least according to what they said at the news, was that the state called all the witnesses that they were
needed.
call.
Okay.
This is just a simple observation of being at the courthouse, this case was all the buzz for the week that it was around.
Mm-hmm.
Simple observation. Every Hispanic I spoke to wanted the guy to go down.
Yeah.
Every white person I spoke to wanted him to go not guilty. And it didn't matter if you were a defense or a prosecutor or a bailiff or a
really
court. It was just phenomenal. I ended up having to shut my mouth because I didn't know, me personally as a defense attorney, as I saw the case proceed, I was like, this is a not guilty.
Dude, we're in strange times right now, man.
It's strange, dude.
Tell you what, because, look, we have somebody in the White House who, based upon his statements about the FBI, would normally bring criminal defense lawyers together singing Kumbaya, and instead, they ain't doing that at all. I mean, it's been quite the opposite. So, they're actually majority of criminal defense lawyers out there are hoping and advocating for his indictment. So it is we're at an interesting point in the timeline of the country, I guess you could say, and I just think that there's some people taking some pretty harsh racial positions on things.
Yes,
and you talk about it. What what does constitute racism these days? I mean, you see these videos of that woman calling the cops on the 8-year-old with the water stand.
Or the guy barbecuing out by that lake or bay in California.
Right, and so that's automatically racism. But if and then look, I mean, there's just no right answer for this. I can't even give an example,
it's
probably without getting criticized for it.
Right.
But, I mean, I saw something the other day where one white guy yelled at another white guy, and threatened to call the cops on him on everything. But nobody. It's
reverse racism, bro. It's reverse racism. Right. White on white.
White on white.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no. I don't know, man. We are just. I guess we got nobody to fight, so we don't have a war going on really. I mean, we're not fighting. We're not in a Cold War. We're not really. We don't have a true enemy.
The enemy doesn't have a face.
Yeah, the enemy doesn't have a face, so we got to fight each other.
Yeah, there's a Facebook.
That's what it's come down to now.
There's a clip going around on Facebook where it's like, it's an anonymous kind of support group for people who are too woke. It's
what does that even mean? What is that?
It's
I don't even know what that even means.
It's too woke. It's just it's like
but nobody can take a joke anymore. You can't be sarcastic.
It's hilarious.
I mean, if you go back and look at some of the comedy skits, like go on Netflix, watch Eddie Murphy Raw.
Yeah.
Go watch some of the stuff that he said back in the early '80s. If he said that today, he'd be just roasted.
Blazing Saddles.
Go look at go look at Don Rickles and Mel Brooks and what these guys were doing in the '60s. And I mean, we can't do stuff like that anymore. we can't tell jokes.
Well, I don't think it's that we can't. I think that the Hernandez and the Thompson case kind of there may be some political reasons for the charging the way that it was. And I don't think that there's.
I'm not sure political, more social.
I'm torn on what I'm about to say, but I don't think there's I don't even know if I can say it.
Say it.
I don't know.
You probably can't. You'll probably get a nasty email from somebody saying, "I can't believe you said that on TV."
Well, and I deserve to be slapped in the back of my head by Mark Bennett when I say this, but I don't think that in some cases there's always something wrong with a politically motivated prosecution or indictment, because so many lack of prosecution and indictments have been politically motivated for decades, or if not centuries, prior to this history, in the history of this country. What I think the reason why you're seeing some of the divisions that you were mentioning, JV, that come down to just skin tone, is because people have been disenfranchised. Certain groups, and a lot of them have been based on skin color. They've been disenfranchised for so long that now it's just like we're just tired. I don't want to say we, because I don't get to be part of any different marginalized group. I'm just not, fortunately or unfortunately. But they are just tired of it.
Don't worry, my friend. Once you get married, you will be marginalized. So you will have plenty of time to feel marginalized in life.
They just want to finally feel like the criminal justice system works for them, or people who look like them, or when the victim is not white, that the prosecutor's office still pushes forward the prosecution just as much as if the victim was white. And that's what a lot of studies in the death penalty, when I started looking at the death penalty in undergrad, I was expecting to find racism in the death penalty, the application of death penalty around the country when I was looking at some studies. Where I thought the racism would be is in the skin color of the person who was charged. What I found is that the studies showed, and I didn't find this, the studies found that what more dictated whether capital punishment was sought was the race of the victim. If the victim was white or a white woman, a lot of times it didn't matter so much what the race of the defendant was. They sought the death penalty in those cases more. And when the person was black, or especially a black man, they didn't seek death penalty in those. And what that ended up showing is society values these lives over other lives.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we're starting to see now. But
and kids' lives matter.
It's coming up at a time when, at the same time, there's a weird thing going on with people who look like me and have a background like me in the country, where they're being told on TV and maybe other places in their households and in church and other places that the country is looking less like us, and there's less of us around, and we're losing our jobs to people who don't look like us. And you have two things kind of, I think, colliding at the same time. You have empowerment of marginalized and historically marginalized groups, and you have this like frustration from the majority who just don't know how to deal with that. And they feel like they feel like affirmative action programs, which are not supposed to be anti-white, they're supposed to be pro-minority, that they become anti-white. And I'm kind of all over the place, but an affirmative action is not really a great thing to use as an example on that. But that's what I think we have kind of going on in the country right now. And I don't think the problem is that people can't say jokes. I think it's that people started to realize, hey, that's not really a joke. Like, that's just kind of the same old stuff. That's why I didn't really care for Mad Men that much. I was like, oh, the 60s were a sexist, racist, misogynistic environment and powerful boardrooms and offices and marketing companies. Shocker. Like, no, we all knew that. Like, I didn't need to see it all over again. So it's a beautiful movie or beautiful show and series and well acted by everyone, but
I
just think that a lot of us are starting to get past that stuff, and a bunch of folks aren't. And I don't know.
I don't think we're getting past anything. I mean, look at all the Chicken Littles running around with just because a Supreme Court justice retired.
It's over, man.
The country's going to hell. It's done.
End of the world.
Come on, you're not afraid. You're not a little bit concerned with.
No.
I mean, they're talking about Mike Lee from Utah, like an elected politician becoming.
It's not. I mean, they always go to the worst place. Okay. They do.
That would be Utah.
I am.
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
look, but
I didn't say it.
What is so freaking different that's happening now that happened? That the conservatives were doing when Obama got elected. It was the country's coming to an end.
I agree.
Oh,
Yeah,
Obamacare. We're going to socialism.
I
do agree with that.
8 years later, hey, guess what? We're still here. Okay.
Everything could get toned down a little bit. I do agree with that. I do think that's politics, and politics, extends to marketing, and
look,
everything's political. But
I'm not going to worry about a Supreme Court justice retiring and that they might appoint somebody who's a lot more conservative. You know what I'm going to worry? When they start marching the tanks down Main Street here in Houston and shooting at us.
But Jimmy, that's too late. The Supreme Court gets stacked with zealots and politically motivated people, and the tanks don't come for another 6 or 7 years after the courts are all fixed. That's the gradual march towards totalitarianism.
Do you really think that's going to happen in this country?
I don't know, but I do think that if it's going to happen, it starts like something along this lines. And I think it actually even starts back with Obama, with everybody's reaction and response to the rise of the Tea Party.
Like, don't you ever say anything bad about Obama?
I love Obama.
Okay, I don't ever.
I'm not saying it's that Obama started it. I'm saying it started back with Obama.
I don't think there's any way that that one person in this country is going to be so charismatic as to convince our entire armed forces to take up arms for them against the citizens of this country.
I'm not saying the entire armed forces will be involved. That's not how military coups take over. They don't need the entire military. They just need the
entire military to support the dictator.
They need whoever's got the keys to all the tanks and the gun cabinets. Yeah, you just need those folks.
And look, those folks are trying to force Trump out.
Are they?
Yeah,
he's surrounding himself with them.
The same folks were trying to force Hillary Clinton out.
He's making them his chief of staff. He's making them every single cabinet member he can possibly do so.
They tried to do the same thing to Clinton. They tried to do the same thing to Obama. I mean, it's all the same crew.
What do you mean? I'm not following.
The career bureaucrats, man. Those are the people that run the country.
Oh, I don't dispute that.
Okay.
But I do think the politicians come in and clear them all out.
Have you seen that photo from? They say it's a photo from the Holocaust Museum out in D.C. It's like the 10 signs of fascism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a T-shirt with them on the back.
Yeah. I'm like, oh wait, check. I'm like, have somebody snoped this? I mean, because I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is the things that are going around and infiltrating the minds of our citizens and the people around. And look, I'm scared.
The list of 10 signs of fascism
are
infiltrating the minds of the citizens?
No, the idea that it's here, and it very well might be. I don't
Look,
mean,
think
I don't
about
know.
it for a second.
But it's like being a frog in boiling water. If you're not going to get dropped into a boiling pot, they're just going to put the pot on the stove and just turn the heat up slowly, and you're going to eventually look around and go, shit, or shoot, when did it all start boiling? That's too late, I'm dead.
Okay, so
It's a gradual process.
well, but I mean, let's say they get Trump out. Let's say they impeach him. It's just going to go to Mike Pence.
I know, that's worse. It's far worse. Because Mike Pence is going to be effective at passing his policies.
So I mean,
So and that's the only. You know what? Actually, I heard earlier this week that Trump picked Pence as insurance against the Democrats impeaching him because he knows that the Democrats all know that Pence will be worse, just as conservative, or I don't even know if Trump's that conservative personally, but just as right wing as he is policy-wise.
I don't think he is at all.
But
he's an interloper,
no,
man.
he's not.
I mean,
he's not at all.
He's not a true Republican.
And I just have noticed that in the last week he started picking up the slur that Republicans like to use against the members of the Democratic Party, where they just call him a Democrat, or like the Democrat congressman. Trump started picking up on that in the last couple of weeks. He's finally started to listen to other people, it sounds like. But I really think that charismatic leadership, we look back over history and horrible things happen, like the Holocaust and parts of the Cultural Revolution in China, and it would go way back even before all that. And I don't think that people realized where they were going to end up when it was all starting. And that's the fear with this right now. And I recognize that you're right. There are probably people who are the polar opposite side of this political spectrum of me who felt that way when President Obama was in office.
That's right.
But President Obama was really not.
They thought we were heading for socialism.
But
here we go.
He's
not going to leave office at the end of his term.
I will tell you.
Do you remember that? He's not going to leave office at the end of his term.
Obama never joked about. He never said that he would like to consider that. Trump has already done that before he's even gotten into a second term, and I have so many problems with what's going on in our White House right now.
We got 30 seconds.
That I just give me like 2 or 3 more shows in a row and we can talk about that.
You should come sit out here and not call in on the phone.
Well, you see, we go from DACOs to politics to legal issues. It's a great show.
I still will
show.
watch Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom many, many times before I leave this earth.
I think it got a splatter
I like
on Rotten.
You're
Tomatoes.
against
Splatter.
what the reviewers said.
It was not a good movie,
Right.
but I'm not a good movie critic because I like bad movies.
Well,
But it's not a bad movie. I liked it.
I'm going to go see Incredibles 2.
We went and saw the
did?
Infinity Wars.
I
this
haven't
past-
seen it yet. I'm saying that's what I have to go see because
Your kids can see that.
that's right. that's what I'm left going to see, Justin.
I want to see Infinity War. I want to see Incredibles 2.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it is because I'm sure that'll probably be on our list of weekend activities.
I've heard it's very cute.
I'm sure the first one was very good. But that's all the time we have for tonight. We're done.
Thanks for letting me.
We're done letting Justin rant for this week. So we're going to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. For Julio Vela, our producer, Justin Harris, I'm Jimmy Ardwine. That's all the time we have for this week. We'll be back next Thursday night with another, and we'll be celebrating 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
So we'll be back.
Freedom.
All right? Yeah.
Yep.
Let freedom ring.
Yep.